Welcome to HitEnter. In this new episode, I'm talking with Wienke Giezeman about the Things Network, an Internet of Things data network he built in just 6 weeks, and about how his previous failed startup, WhatsApp, made him a stronger entrepreneur. Wienke, you're back, and with what an entrance. You just launched the Things Network in only 6 weeks.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
How did you do that? How did you manage that?
It was technology I came across around 6 weeks ago, and it's a new radio frequency technology to connect things to the internet. So you can compare it to a Wi-Fi router. Wi-Fi router has a reach of around 20 meters around your home router. This is a similar thing, but then it has a reach of 5 kilometers around your house. And I thought, okay, maybe like if we have 10 of these things, we could cover the whole city of Amsterdam. And I was looking at other parties that are doing that and building similar networks, but they enforce a revenue model on that, which imposes a lot of costs on the actual applications that the network are using. So I thought maybe it's more interesting to crowdsource the network and make the inhabitants of a city buy a gateway, put it on the roof, and make a public network together. And I pitched that to a co-founder. He was convinced right away. Really good technical guy, Johan. And I pitched to the Internet of Things meetup here in Amsterdam. And I got a community of 10 developers in literally one day.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
We wrote a manifest, and from that point we set the goal. Okay, we want to have in 5 weeks a network covering Amsterdam, and we thought about the architecture. People started programming, and I started crowdsourcing. So I started asking companies, individuals, hey, do you want to host such a thing with a story? We're going to build a worldwide network, and you're going to be the first city to do that. And then like companies like Deloitte, KPMG, the Port of Amsterdam, we've got a couple of co-working spaces like A-Lab, Rockstart, and boven de Bali. So like
How did you manage to get them on board actually?
It was more, they were like, their main incentive was, okay, how cool is this new technology? Mm-hmm. I haven't yet heard of it, so this should be very new. And the story about making a public network that everybody can use, and making sure that the principles of the internet, which is a free flow of information, is also applied to the Internet of Things. Because if you look, for instance, at other telco corporations in Europe, they do the same thing, but they make a separate internet with a gatekeeper in between. So if you want to connect to your devices, you have to pay a subscription per device to reach them. Mm-hmm. And
so that's the interoperability issue.
Yeah. So that's the interoperability issue, or for me it's more not interoperability. It's more the issue of that if you have like such like you have to think of that they're looking at around €1. There are telcos in Europe already presenting their propositions, €1 per device per month. Mm-hmm. And a lot of cool use cases are excluded immediately because the idea can be very cool.
It's too expensive.
But you have to, like, and people just hate subscriptions. I mean, that's and this is very interesting, and it's going to be a network that's going to start in the developer scene, and from there it's going to grow. And I really see a lot of similarities to Linux. Is in the start it's going to be a lot of individuals, hackers going to contribute it, and then all of a sudden companies see, okay, we have to make sure this whole network starting to stabilize, and then they can invest as well. And the only thing how they can invest is they can invest with building the network. Mm-hmm. And complying to our licenses and complying to our rules for the network.
It's actually similar to how the internet was built itself.
Yeah, it's actually the same. I mean, the internet was built because you had a network, I have a network, exactly. And I can go over your network, and you can go over my network, and we're fine with that because there's a huge synergy. Mm-hmm. And the same goes for this. Like if I have a gateway here, and you have a gateway there, and my devices are at your area. I still want to connect to them, but I can connect to them through your router. So that's,
So going a step back, we all know why we use internet, but why do we need the Things network?
Yeah, the Things network is where we now know that we can connect services to the internet. We know that we can connect people to the internet, but we're now connecting things to the internet. And the Internet of Things, of course, it's been already hyped.
Quite a buzzword.
Quite a buzzword. But this is a technology that actually can connect these things autonomously to the internet. Mm-hmm. And examples of that are a bike or a trash can or a sensor to detect if there's a car in a certain parking place. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing about this technology is because these devices can last so long on a battery, they can move freely in space. They can act really autonomously, and which, if you look at Wi-Fi, you're dependent on reach within your Wi-Fi. Bluetooth is buggy, and it works if it's in a reach for 5 kilometers of your phone. But these devices really can start acting on their own. And for instance, if you have a sensor that has a solar panel, you could build things that could last for 10 years.
And what are the specific use cases? You just talked about the bike.
Yeah. I think when we said, okay, we're going to launch this network, we knew we had to make an end-to-end solution, not only to prove ourselves that we can make something, but also to tell the story. So we here in Amsterdam, we made a use case, and it's a small ball, and you put it in the lowest point in your boat. Mm-hmm. And if your boat is gaining water, then you get an SMS. If you SMS back, clear water from my boat, a service comes by and removes the water from the boat. And I think if you look at that, like your boat talking to the internet, talking to a service, it's a really great example of extending your senses to that boat and like outsourcing rules and tasks to other services to make your life better. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really where... And
that's almost machine-to-machine communication, because that's one of the promises of the Internet of Things, that you don't have the human in between. Yeah. It's not necessary.
That's not necessary. And I personally, I believe that machine-to-machine is good, but I think so a lot of use cases, in this specific, you're the gatekeeper there. Yeah. So you can still say, okay, like I can, maybe my boat is in front of my house, I can do it myself. Mm-hmm. So it's still... Like you can, if you look at if this then that, for instance, the service to implement rules between Internet of Things, then you see I can program rules because I know like always when this happens I want this to happen. But I think a lot of cases you also have something in between that you want to say how or when or whatever. I want to influence that business rule on that point. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Wienke, I was wondering, how does this at all relate to movies?
Yeah. So if you look at what we did with WebZap, we were a media startup. This is Internet of Things, so of course, like something really, really different. But I think there's also a lot of similarities. It is about trying to convince a lot of people in your vision and to see, like, try to make them follow and join your path, and also about building a team. And with the WebZap, we built an amazing editorial team, an amazing tech team, and now I'm building an open source team, which is very interesting because like nobody gets paid, and that's don't get paid because it's all not for profit. And yeah, that's really cool.
But probably that's what makes you an entrepreneur, to assemble a group of people and go after a shared objective. But being an entrepreneur is really hard, and you experienced it firsthand with WebZap. So why are you starting yet another project?
Yeah, I think when Colin and I did WebZap for almost 5 years. Mm-hmm. We bootstrapped it for 2 years. We had an angel investor, then we invested ourselves, then we had Sanoma investing, and then we in the end sold it to Sanoma. And for both Colin and me, at the end, we were really happy that we could end it that way. Unfortunately, the product got cancelled, but we were able to sell the company, and all stakeholders were compensated, and that I actually was proud of what we did. And I think 2 weeks after that, it's like stepping out of a roller coaster. I think you can step out of it like 2 ways. Said, okay, I'm never going to do this again, or like, okay, let's do this again. And like for me, it was really the second thing. And as well as for Colin, is doing an amazing startup now in the field of contacts and email.
What's the name of the startup?
He's doing Mila.
Mila.
And it's currently a little bit stealth, but yeah, that's really promising, and it's really interesting to see what he's doing. And for me, it was like there were a few things where I thought, okay, this is what I want to keep doing, is building tech teams, and just being on the frontier of technology as my I have a technical background. I just love that. And that's what I started doing. So I started creating a small IT company, just doing projects for other customers, doing our own projects. It's called The Smiths, and it's a cross-platform app development agency.
You weren't thinking about the Things Network?
No, that's just started. It started like somewhere around start of July.
Okay.
And before that, I was never like the Internet of Things was new to me, and but I was also really like a lot of time I was attracted by it. It's like these things. Okay, when is this gonna happen? And why isn't this like happening yet? And
so when did you have your eureka moment with the Things Network?
Yeah, just when I had a picture in my mind of these circles over Amsterdam. And that I saw, I only need 10 of these circles to cover the entire city.
Yes.
And sometimes if I explain it to people, they're not that technical guys. Like it's comparing to if you would be able to buy a dishwasher that could do the dishwashing for the entire street, and you will be the one to able to purchase something and then provide the entire street of dishwashing every day. Then you would do that.
Yes.
Yeah, you would do this. That's awesome.
It's a good feeling to give to the society.
Because it's a good feeling, because if I dissect also the story that I'm trying to tell, it what comes back every time is the pattern of small investment, high impact.
Yes.
And that's emotional thing. Like if I show the video, and in the video I say somewhere, so with a small group of people we can cover the entire city of Amsterdam with cover. That's always when I see a little like a smile. Okay, that's nice.
It's actually the giving first idea, which is famous in Silicon Valley and other places, Boulder, for example, with Brad Feld. But the giving first idea, that's what you're actually talking about.
Yeah. And people really like it. And then if you have like another part of the story, and it's also like it's part of the story, but it's also our motivation. So it's really an intrinsic story. Is that this decentralized ways that we don't need big centralized governments or big centralized corporations to build these things, and it's really the time is now that people understand that these models are happening, because they already know Uber, although it's Uber is in some way highly centralized, but they know that peer-to-peer is something that can work. And I involved the CTO of the city of Amsterdam, Ger Baron, only a few weeks ago when the whole plan was already already almost there. He said the most interesting thing here I find is that I was not involved at all in this project, and that's a huge compliment.
True. Yeah. One more point about WhatsApp and your learnings. In the Netherlands, there is quite a stigma on failure as an entrepreneur. You failed. I don't know if you would like to call it failure, but you failed with WhatsApp, and in a lot of places that's seen as not a milestone in being an entrepreneur and learning how to how to build things. So I was wondering, how do you use the things you learned at WhatsApp in your new projects, for example, the Things Network?
Yeah, I think that is in a lot of things. We did a lot of communication and PR at WhatsApp, which I learned a lot from. The basic of like entrepreneurial pragmatics, by just going, gut feeling, just moving forward,
just doing things.
That's really, and doing it and then go and all in, so with full energy, because you need people to follow, and if you don't like show that you're fully convinced of this, then that nobody will follow, of course. So I think these are the things, and building the tech team. I mean, like knowing like what motivates people to get on board and get involved, and
so that's what you learned at WhatsApp. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm pronouncing you because
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. That's what you learned at WhatsApp.
Because like I think that's also why building a startup is such a great school, in the sense that as a startup you cannot provide these high incomes. So so if you give somebody a salary, you have to provide more. You have to provide some kind of joy or some kind of like other motivation that somebody will stay in. That
a vision or a
yeah,
true
or
north,
that your vision or something you can follow, or sometimes it's also just be able to have a place to express yourself, or it just building cool stuff. That's sometimes enough. So
that's a very important motivation.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people,
for me also.
Yeah, I think for everybody, it's like this.
So the Things Network was launched in just 6 weeks. So we can accept world domination in 6 months, I presume.
Yeah, that's that would be very nice. What we're aiming for is to have the coverage in all large cities in the world at the end of next year. And for us, Amsterdam is really a big experiment on the technical and the social part. So our plan now is to make Amsterdam perfect. So make sure that everything runs perfectly, and we can maintain the network in Amsterdam. And alongside that, we're going to do the expansion with recruiting majors per geographic area. So just today, somebody already started their campaign in Sydney. So that's really interesting. Wow. Because it's exactly at the other side of the world. So so we have to like move from there. And what we also saw is that we convinced in Amsterdam people to buy such a gateway, which is around $1,000. And we thought if we want to do this globally, we have to lower the barrier for that. So in a few weeks, we're going to launch a Kickstarter campaign for a gateway, so the Things Network router, that costs around $200, and having that as a some kind of home appliance, providing network coverage in a radius of around 5 kilometers. And alongside with that, we're going to provide a development kit for people that can program with Arduinos, but also for people that only can program with if this then that. So a lot of people can feel and touch this, and make them see the dots, so they can connect them, because
and build use cases,
and then build use cases on top of that. But we feel we still have to go through some kind of inspiration phase for everybody to understand what this can do. That's why we're really focusing on the do-it-yourself, smart city lab, and university lab kind of audience, and that's also like exactly the target group where we experience a lot of traction in right now. So I get a lot of mails from people. Okay, how can we set up this at our university? How can we do this in our city? So that will be your first focus, and grow from there.
Mm-hmm. When will the campaign run, the Kickstarter campaign?
Yeah, we're looking at a perfect timing, and also we have to finish some research and development. So I think around September. I think probably more towards the end than in the beginning.
Towards the end of September.
Yeah.
You just made a very interesting point about getting the technical and the social component right. Can you tell us a bit more about the social component? Because I think that most of the time people don't think about that, and in this case it's probably very important.
Yeah, if I talk to the community and if we discuss our plans, and actually there are 10 developers there, I said 99% of what we're doing is communication. So probably if we do this right, they're going to be better developers, better storytellers, whatever, going to be on board. So we have to set examples, we have to set context, we have to set guidelines, we have to provide the context of doing this, and then like enabling people to do this. And I think that's exactly what people will move people, because they have to get something out of this. If somebody's going to campaign for New York, like, he wants to see his face on the New York page of the Things Network. And that's actually what we're going to provide.
And what are you, as at a personal level, getting out of this? Is it a project or is it a startup?
Yeah, for now it's just a project, and for me, how I see this at the moment is that if I can build something with at this magnitude, something good will come my way. I mean and you can think of, like, if this really grows, a lot of business will come from that. We're talking about products, hosting services for sensor data, consultancy, etc. I mean, if I'm that close to the fire, I will find a business.
I think that's a great attitude. Thank you, Wienke, for this interview.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation.